So this is going to be a demonstration of how to use a reagent testing kit so you can work out what a substance you've bought actually contains. So a reagent testing kit, you get a small sample of the substance you're testing, and then you add different reagents to it and they will change colour depending on what's present. And you can see the reagent testing kit chart on the screen now. So before you start, it's important to just take a few things into consideration. You want to be in an environment that's quite well lit so you can see the colour changes, and it's also good to be somewhere where you're free of distractions. It's much easier to do these tests if you haven't got loads of people sort of running around behind you. So best to do it in a calm, quiet environment. And also just be aware that the chemicals in a reagent testing kit are corrosive. So if they touch your skin or get in your eyes or anything like that, they can be quite dangerous. If that happens, just make sure that you wash your hands immediately and you will be fine. But yeah, you don't want to ingest these things because they would cause you harm. So the first thing to think about is gathering all the equipment you need to do a test. So you're going to need a surface to do the test on. The best thing to use is a white plate because you can see the colour changes really clearly. You'll need some safety equipment, so some goggles and some gloves. You'll need your reagents, obviously, and scoops to get them out of the bottles. You'll also need the drugs that you're going to be testing, and obviously the colour chart and some instructions. So now we've gathered all the equipment that we need and put on our gloves and goggles, we're going to actually start doing a test. So the first thing you need to do is get a sample of the drugs that you're testing. So we've crushed up some aspirin in a pill crusher, but if you're testing a pill, you can just sort of scrape off a little sample from the edge. And if you're testing powder, just make sure you've crushed it up really finely because then it gives a bigger surface area for the reagent to react with. So you're just going to get a tiny little scoop. It's basically just a few grains of salt. It's not a huge amount of drugs at all. And you're going to make 3 piles. So the reason that you're doing multiple piles is because we're going to use more than one reagent, and this is a good way of making sure that you can rule out different adulterants because they will change colour differently to the drug that you're kind of hoping that you've got. So now we have 3 piles ready to test. Now we're going to get each reagent and add them to these samples, and then we'll see the colour change. So you can look at your reference chart and you can see that with these different reagents, aspirin will turn pink, bluey purple, and then no colour change for the third. So we'll start off with the marquee, which should turn pink to red. It's really important that before you use the kit, you give them a good shake. And this just means that the reagent is kind of well distributed in the bottle. So carefully unscrew the lid so you don't make a mess. And then just get a small scoop like this, probably about 4 times the amount of the actual substance that you're testing. And you can just add that on top. And just sort of squish it down so that you've got some sort of contact between the substance and the reagent. And so with these reagents, it can take a couple of minutes for the reaction to occur. So just sort of keep an eye on it. So that was the marquee reagent. And so this is Mecke, so give that one a shake as well. And so with this reagent, there should be no colour change at all. And make sure you use a different scoop for each reagent because they will react together, so you don't want to sort of contaminate the bottle with a different reagent. And so we're expecting this one to not change colour at all. And the final reagent we're going to use is the Froda. And this one should be changing from sort of white to a bluey purpley colour. And so you can see that one is quite obviously reacting quite quickly. So you can see now on the plate that the first reagent we used is starting to turn a sort of pinky colour, but the Froda has turned bluey purple, and this one has just stayed as it was when it came out the bottle. So you can compare that to your reference chart and see that that is sort of as expected. And this is quite a good example of why you need to use multiple reagents if you want the best result, because if you'd have just tested with the marquee, if you look down this column here, you can see that the coca plant impurity turns a faint peach colour, which you could interpret that as. And for MXE, it will also have a sort of pinkish colour change. But if you use the other reagents, you can see that it's quite clearly turning purple and no colour change. So we can confirm that this is aspirin. So the next step is to sort of safely dispose of all of this stuff. So the best way to do that is to take the plate to a sink and gently wash all of this down the sink with cold running water, and sort of rinse all of the scoops and any other surfaces that any of the reagent has touched. And then you have completed your test.